Have you ever watched a space movie where a spaceship explodes and you hear a huge boom in space? Or lasers going pew-pew everywhere? Yeah, that sounds awesome, but in real life, that's completely wrong. Because space is totally silent. Like, no sound at all. Not even a whisper. Just pure silence. Hey everyone, welcome to The Simple Why. And today we're going to answer a really strange question. Why is space so silent? Space is full of crazy things. Exploding stars, giant planets, black holes swallowing entire suns. It sounds like it should be the loudest place in the universe. But instead, it's one of the quietest. So what's going on? To understand that, we first need to understand something simple. What sound actually is. Sound is not something magical that just appears in your ears. Sound is actually vibration. When something moves or shakes, it pushes the air around it. Those air particles bump into other air particles, and that creates a wave. That wave travels until it reaches your ear, and then your brain translates it into sound. So when you hear music, talking, or explosions, you are actually hearing air particles moving. Without particles moving, there is no sound. That's the key idea. Now let's talk about Earth. Why can we hear everything here? On Earth, we are surrounded by an atmosphere. Even though we can't see it, the air is always there. It's full of tiny particles constantly moving and bumping into each other. This is perfect for sound. So when you speak, your voice pushes the air. When you clap, your hands shake the air. When a car honks, the sound travels through air like ripples in water. That's why even if you close your eyes, you can still hear the world around you. Earth is basically full of invisible sound highways everywhere. Now imagine taking all of that away. That's space. When you go into space, everything changes. Space is not completely empty, but it's so close to empty that it might as well be. There are tiny particles floating around, but they are incredibly far apart. So far apart that they almost never collide. Imagine trying to have a conversation where every single word has to travel miles before hitting something that can carry it forward. That would not work at all. So if sound tries to travel in space, it immediately runs into a problem. There's nothing there to carry it. No air, no water, no solid connection between particles. The sound wave just falls apart instantly. That's why scientists say space is a vacuum. A vacuum is a place where there is almost no matter at all. And sound absolutely depends on matter. It needs atoms and molecules to pass the vibration along. No matter means no sound. So space basically says, sorry, sound is not allowed here. Now think about something huge, like a star exploding, a supernova, one of the most powerful events in the universe. It releases more energy than our sun will produce in its entire lifetime. If that happened near Earth, it would be unbelievably loud. But in space? Silence. Even if you were floating right next to it, you wouldn't hear anything. Not because it's far away, but because there is nothing to carry the sound to you. That's one of the most shocking things about space. It can be extremely violent, full of explosions, radiation, and movement, yet completely silent at the same time. But here's something important. Space is not nothing at all. There are still particles, atoms, dust, and gas floating around. But they're just too spread out to carry sound properly. So technically, sound can exist in some parts of space where particles are closer together, like inside a nebula. But even then, it would be extremely weak and not something you could hear with your ears like on Earth. Now let's make it even more interesting. If space is silent, how do astronauts communicate? They don't use sound traveling through space. They use radios. Radio waves can travel through a vacuum, unlike sound. So when astronauts talk to each other, their voices are turned into signals sent through space, and then turned back into sound inside a device. That means even in space, communication is possible, but it's not sound traveling directly. Another crazy idea is this. If you were floating in space without a helmet, you wouldn't hear anything at all. No explosions, no engines, no breathing, nothing, just silence. Completely, endlessly silent. But you might still feel vibrations if you touched something solid, like a spaceship, because sound can travel through solid objects. So if two objects hit each other in space, the vibration would move through the metal. But in open space, nothing. This makes space one of the strangest places we know. Because on Earth, sound is everywhere. We are constantly surrounded by it. But in space, there is none of that. No background noise. No ambient sound. No echo. Just silence stretching forever. And maybe that's what makes space feel so mysterious. It's not just what we can see that's different, it's what we can't hear. Because in space, even the biggest explosion in the universe doesn't make a sound. Now here are some extra interesting facts you probably didn't know. Did you know that space isn't perfectly silent everywhere in the same way? In some areas of space, scientists detect very low-frequency vibrations coming from things like galaxy clusters. But these sounds are so low that humans can't hear them at all. Scientists actually convert them into audio so we can study them. Also, planets like Jupiter actually produce radio waves that can be turned into sound. So technically, space can sound like eerie whistles or deep hums, but again, not through air like on Earth. Another fun fact is that astronauts inside the International Space Station don't experience total silence. Inside the station, there is air, so sound works normally. They can hear fans, machines, and each other talking. But the moment they go outside on a spacewalk, everything becomes silent again. And here's something even cooler. Sound travels differently depending on the material. On Earth it moves through air, but it travels even faster through water and even faster through solid steel. That means if space had more connected particles, sound could travel, but it simply doesn't have enough of them. Some scientists even say that if space had sound like Earth, it would probably be incredibly loud and chaotic. Imagine explosions from stars, radiation bursts, and black holes colliding, all making noise at the same time. It would be overwhelming beyond imagination. But instead, we get silence. Pure, endless silence. And that is what makes space so strange and so beautiful. Because sometimes, the quietest places are actually the most powerful. And in space, even the biggest events in the universe happen without a single sound. Thanks for watching The Simple Why. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more simple explanations about the universe. See you in the next one.